Really? Wow.
I'm not going to say we're going live. I'm just going
Yes, we
to.
are live. So yes.
I know, but I'm just saying. I don't want to say it. I'm just going to say good morning, good morning,
Good
not good morning,
mornings. Good
good
mornings.
morning.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Somebody
Good
greeted
morning.
us that way. Some magical person.
Yes.
And we are just adopting that from now on. It's like, well, duh. I mean, it's like, how can we not adopt this from now on,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
It's like seriously, how can we not? So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love that. So good morning, everyone. Bina, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's always our
Yes.
question.
So
When, what are we doing?
yes,
What are we doing?
first thing I want to say that because this is so sweet to say that. This is that, yes, hello,
Yes,
good mornings.
yeah,
Good mornings, actually, sorry. And because I had that pronunciation of morning. Anyway, so good
yeah,
mornings. And thank you, Lisa, for giving us this. We are
yeah.
live again, and we are going to do the things we are doing now very
Ah,
diligently, regularly. And I'm so excited for that because the continuity and the being regular, being consistent on something is so, so, so profound. And having this
yeah,
opportunity that yes, sun is coming every single day almost, other than the weekend, but
yeah,
and discussing all these things, go in real depth and find
yes,
more value, not only value, but actually just having the essence of.
yes.
And of course, as Sel is so generous, okay, I must say that he's so generous in discussing and sharing things
Only
because it's not only limited to the story. Because he
correct,
digress and someone
correct.
asks, and it's all relevant and
Yeah,
pertinent to
yeah,
that, but
yeah,
because it is coming
yeah,
via this discussion. So he is going to, of course, if something will come up, we will have that. And if you guys want to
yeah.
share some of your stories or something, you can just put it in a comment, and then of course we will discuss, and Sil will just respond to
Exactly.
that too. So that
Exactly.
is so amazing. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Sil, and
I mean,
please
right.
continue.
The objective is not necessarily to discuss the story. Hello, hello, Ramsey. Hello, man. Hello, hello, hello. And the objective is not necessarily to discuss the story itself. The objective is to do capital R reading of it. The capital R reading is the objective, and the point of a capital R reading is discernment. Discernment, dissection, awareness, connection, connectivity, all of the things that come with it. Plus, we are sharing an environment, right? And that environment is the issue. Yes. Environment
Yes.
where whatever comes up as pertinent and relevant is discussed. So if something in the story or what we're saying clicks with you, resonates, if something bubbles up inside you, we call those come up takeaways. You say, yeah, this makes me think of this, or this brings this up, or this makes me feel about this, and you share and we discuss it. This is the point, right? It's the discussion, the
Yes.
discernment, the dissection, going into details, sharing moreness, and practicing, practicing expression, uh, and practicing expression once again, over and over,
Yes.
but also practicing discernment, practicing this ability to go on side tangents and then come back to your main theme again. So not to lose where you were, right? So that's attention,
Yes.
concentration,
One more.
holding your
One
theme.
more thing. Yes.
Exactly.
One more thing.
Uh, Please.
Because it is, yes, practicing all what you mentioned, but also practicing self-trust. This is so
Exactly.
huge in this
Exactly.
because being live and just open to everything, like okay, whatever you are going to ask and share, and we are okay with that. For me, it's a big
Yeah.
deal. Of course, not for Sil because he's been doing throughout his life, I
Yeah.
almost. But for me, just being uh, available there, asking question. It's a constant preparation, what people call. And I
Yeah.
had this quote after doing my first live, open live like that, that if you need to prepare, you are not prepared yet. This is something,
I'll say that again, please.
if you need to
Ex-
prepare, you are not prepared yet. It's like, duh.
exactly.
But this is something
Exactly.
I have learned, and
Yeah.
this is something it becomes so innate to me that yes, if I really, really know what I'm talking about, and if everything, whatever I'm sharing, is my own now, I have made it my own, then I don't need to prepare. I don't need to remember anything. I don't need to memorize anything. It's
Yeah.
all just all appropriate. And this is what I'm practicing every
Exactly.
single day with you.
Exactly. Exactly. This
A huge
ability,
self-trust leverage.
precisely, this ability to be appropriate. this is a profound ability. I mean, because to get there, first of all, we need to understand exactly what it means to be appropriate. So we have to be clear about what we're doing, right? That's why I said, Bina, what are
Yes.
we doing? See, and look how Bina
Yes.
responded to that, because it's a capital D doing, yes? Now,
Yes.
so that's the first thing. In order to determine appropriateness, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have a goal, an objective, an intent, a motivation, etc. You have to be clear about what you're doing. Otherwise, are you going to know what to be appropriate? Plus, you have to understand the context that you're in, because the same
Yes.
things in different contexts are not appropriate, right? I mean, your beach wear is very appropriate for the beach, but I'm not so sure you want to take that to your business meeting. Yes, right. So see
Yes.
appropriateness, right?
Yes.
I'll mix up my use some fresh analogies here,
Yes.
examples, right? Instead of
Just
using
before
the
going
same one I
live,
do. Right.
even in the last second, I have no idea that what we are going to, of course, say,
Exactly,
what I'm going to say. But I don't need to.
exactly,
I never feel that pressure, that comfort level. Comfort
exactly.
with my own self, not with, of course, with all other
Right,
things. But
right,
if
right.
I am comfortable, this peace of being is so amazing. When I am at
Precisely,
peace with myself, then I
precisely,
can be appropriate in any situation. And I
exactly.
can be with any
And
situation.
not only the piece of being, but your piece of being comes from your impeccability.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if I'm not being impeccable and I don't trust myself to be impeccable, then how can I have peace of being? So we have to make impeccability our default. Yes.
Exactly. This is what it is.
And
Yes.
that's so
Foundation.
so after a while it's like, well, how can I not trust that I'm going to be appropriate? Can I actually be deliberately inappropriate? No. If I'm paying attention, which I make an effort to do, well, then
For 1.5 years, I was stuck. I was reluctant to respond to that question that can you be deliberately inappropriate in any situation? And I like it
exactly.
was like always I was not sure because like maybe sometimes you know that it's inappropriate, but still you want to do that. It's still you just get out of like okay heat of the moment. Sometimes you get influenced by other things. So for
Exactly.
when I started till 1.5 year of doing that, I was
Right.
always whenever still asked
Right.
that question again, and I'm like yes, it's a very
Right.
very weak, very confused kind of yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
after that, something happened, and I realized that okay, yes, now I can say that. So it took me 1.5 years
Yeah.
just to respond yes to that question. It's a big question
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
answer with of
So
course
on
complete honesty.
this point of attention, yes. This is when we say to be appropriate, right? We trust ourselves to be appropriate. Why? Because one second, one second. There we go. Because we trust that we've made impeccability a default. We understand it so deeply and innately that we trust that we are going to be automatically appropriate. However, that appropriateness is still going to be dependent on our awareness of our intent and our context. So we still have to pay attention to the context and to our motivations. Now, our motivations in the deep level are always going to be appropriate, but contextually, we have to understand that sometimes we have to do different things in the context. We still have to pay attention. We still have to pay attention, right?
So yeah, for me it was like okay, I just want to be just to make sure, and that's just to make the obvious of really obvious for
Yeah,
myself
yeah,
that when I started that after a few months, of course, everything was actually falling in place, and I had this understanding, and at least I could say that okay, I was much aware, much aware than what I was before, and how much I was before. But it's still that reluctancy was coming from the impeccability that okay, do I really qualify for that? And then every single time when you were asking, all sort of incidents and things would come, situations just start running in my mind that okay, no, maybe yeah. So that was the reluctance there. because
Yeah.
it was lack of thoroughness at that time. And
Yeah.
sometimes we become aware. We say that, okay, yes, and we say
Yeah.
that with complete honesty that we are aware. We know all these stuff. But
Yes.
that
Yes.
doesn't mean that system becomes innate to us. It becomes our
Exactly.
default. It takes a
Exactly.
lot of time to
Practice.
become,
Practice.
yes.
Practice.
So yes,
Retraining the
everybody knows
brain.
that. Yes,
E- Exactly. And that's what we're doing here. This
yes,
is this opportunity to practice not only our expression, our ability to connect and to expand and to be intuitive and to make jumps and all of this stuff, right? Connect in this bigger sense, but also to practice our impeccability. Yes. And more, even more than impeccability, we can practice those qualities of nobility which can extend beyond impeccability. Yes, I mean, yes, they're connected, but also we don't always have to be like extremely overly thoroughly tolerant. But from a new nobility point of view, they are, right? I mean, at some point you can say, well, too bad, and let it go and move on, right? But we're going to make
yes,
that extra effort here. I don't have to give you the benefit of the doubt that your intent is good and right and an intent to mourn us. But from the new nobility perspective, I make that effort to do so. Yes, because I aspire to be like Biela and the other new nobles, right? I aspire to be that. I don't claim to be it. I know I'm far away. I'd love to be like Biela, but Biela is this ideal that I pursue, that I aspire to. And it's a worthy ideal. I may never get there. So what? So what? Does it matter? Not necessarily. Why? Because I'm always improving. I'm always getting closer, closer, closer. So it doesn't matter. It enhances my life in a profound way. Hello, hello, Michaela. I'm very thrilled you're here. Brilliant, 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 brilliant.
yes.
So we're missing
So that
Norma
reluctance
and
was actually
Elizabeth and
important.
Sher and
Appropriate.
everybody. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So you know what? Say again, Norma. Norma,
I was just
Bina.
saying that reluctance was actually appropriate. That okay, yes, we need to be thorough, and if we are not sure, how can we say that?
Yeah,
Like with the false confidence that oh yes, I am this, I'm blah blah
yeah,
blah.
yeah,
Who we are
yeah,
fooling? Like okay, yes, trying to make ourselves, trying to deceive our own self. This is
yeah.
you need to pay attention. Anyway, okay, let's get started now.
Yeah, 1 second. I just want to. I promised somebody I'd remind them.
Yes, Yvette,
Uh,
yes. I'm using her name right.
Yvette, Yvette. Yeah,
Yvette,
like
yes.
an E, just an E, Yvette. Yeah,
Okay,
but
Yvette.
it's a Y. It's the French way they say it.
Okay. Hope we will have Elizabeth and Jessica and Shara
Yes,
and of
exactly.
course anyone who wants to join.
Anybody, anybody. We. Uh, yeah, I just put the link there. So brilliant, 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 brilliant. Yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Let's see if we can get. Where's Jessica? Just gonna remind her to. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go
Yes, sure is
to.
here.
Yeah, brilliant. Hello, Sher. Hello, Sher. I love that Sher is here, and because Sher's been doing this tasks and exercises in detail, when she can. Sher's got a lot going on in her life. So
And she is
uh,
doing a lot other than that also. So yes,
correct, correct.
I
So
can
so
see her presence on social media, Instagram and TikTok, and of course
exactly,
Facebook. So she
exactly,
is doing a lot.
exactly,
That still she is making
exactly.
time. So it just shows that how much on
Right,
priority these
right.
things are in
Right,
her life.
right. Yes.
Yes.
Well, sure. As long as with that freeze, there doesn't come the fawning, and I don't know what the other thing is that goes with it. Usually those reactions, right?
Yes.
Fight and what's it? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Well, anyway, so you got other options. You got other options. You can be creative. You can laugh. You can change the paradigm. All sorts of things you can do. Yeah. So. All right. All right. So this is where we were last, and we continue. So let's get right into it. meeting her picnicking friends, plus a few random joiners she didn't know. I better read that again. I was emphasizing this random joiners that she didn't know, because it's a significant part. So I might as well just elaborate on this. Right. So just to expand a bit on this, the culture on the new nobility culture. It's an oral culture by choice. I mean, they came, they started. They've always had technology. They've always had phones, or equivalent. Some they call it the for the communication, COMM, right? And the com is just a central way where you can do everything. And basically, the com is another word for the internet, right? I just prefer it as saying, right, on the com, which could mean I got you on voice, on text, on email, on whatever, right? So but they have this available and they do use it, but they don't they don't use it for simple communications like interpersonal communications. They might do it to say, well, okay, there's some important thing that we have to attend to, that kind of stuff. They reserve it for that necessary broadcast. For the rest, all of their interactions are orally, right, done verbally, in other words, right, as an oral. Now, keep in mind, right? Remember, we said it's the school of nobility. The entire planet is the school. Now, because everybody's an aspirant, everybody's learning. It's not the aspirants learning from the new nobles. No. The new nobles learn from the new nobles. The new nobles learn from the aspirants. The new nobles learn from visitors, because they are visitors, tourists to the planet. Not many, but a few. They learn from nature. They learn from everything, right? So everybody's a student. Why this oral culture? Why not have lessons and you go into it? Because exactly like we are doing now, right? These weekday sessions, well, and the Sunday one too, but more particularly the weekday ones. This is precisely what typically happens for the little groups that are sitting there, right? Now, the random joiners, right? So you go out, this is your daily activity, yeah, on Nobilia, right? Because yes, if you're going to do work in a normal sense, you get you get a notification. This is where your com will let you know and say, hey, it's your turn to sit in the admin office today. Okay. And it's kind of random. But the rest got plenty free time. It's just how the system works, right? Because they've set up the system where because they have more wealth than they need to do with it, they distribute it. And how do they distribute it? Money's not an issue. And they distribute it as time. Yeah. So everybody does their part and you get called up to do your duties. When you do, you go and that's it. But for the rest of the time, you do whatever you do. And what do? You hang out. And what does hanging out mean? Means doing what we are doing now. Discernments, discussions, deep conversations, explorations, and of course they do other things like art and sports and all of this, right? And they're very active. So a lot of things. But if you're just hanging out, you go. So on this big lawn here now, typically there'd be, this is probably taken, early in the morning, but there'll be groups all over this show. So I'm into the group and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I just I know the topic. I've been here a little bit or whatever. And just, some anomaly comes and you move to another group, right? You just join randomly because this is part of it. Now, it's a bit of an unusualness in the story that Biala has a constant group. And I did this because if I do it where it's closer to what would typically happen, you go out and you just hang out with the first group and then you move to another group and so on, right? That's more common what would happen. But from a story point of view, to be able to need then to introduce new characters every time, it will slow the story down, right? I mean, if I did that every time Biela's going out, you're going to have a 100 or 200 or whatever characters by the end of the book, and it will overload the reader, right? So you have to make a few concessions. So you want to get to know the people a little bit. So plus, there is a reason why Biela has this group also. In this particular case, she kind of hangs them together because she's, as we're going to see later on, she has a specific task to perform. So it all fits together. But nonetheless, so this random join is there's not there's no awkwardness to it. It's like, yeah, you come to the group and you're a random joiner. We don't know who you are. It doesn't matter to you. You're going to be included, and we're going to say hello to whoever you are. Yesterday we had a couple of people that joined that were new. Maybe for them it was random. We don't know. But this is a very important part, that you can join anytime, exactly like for this group, right? You can join. Anyone can join, and you can just jump in and share what you want to say. It's no problem, right? And there is somebody made a comment in the later on that comes from one of these random joints, right? So I just wanted to emphasize this. And the other part of the oral culture is because every time the sharing, right, of this culture is going on, what happens? It gets shared a little differently. Plus, in the sharing, there's the response that's coming, like in this case. Yes. All right. Let's assume that I'm sharing something about wave impeccability. Yes. And Bina says, wow, you've been sharing this many times, but today you shared it in that. It always comes out a little different. It never comes out exactly the same. And I never really clicked with me. Okay. Like Sher said this
Yes.
sometimes. Said, man, I heard you say this so many times, and today it clicked. It's like, oh, fell into place. And it's like, wow, duh, right, Sher? This happened a couple of
Yes.
times already. This is why it's an oral culture, because if you just reading, right, and you're going back to that lesson, you read it, well, I've done it, you go back and reread it, yeah, sometimes, but you're still rereading the same stuff. But in these conversations, you hearing it differently in the first place, the same point, but I'm sharing it because something new has come to me on it, or some reason, some pertinence, some relevance. And that is another major key for the oral culture. It's pertinence and relevance. So we chat and we say, and then, Bina or Sher or Ramsey or whoever says, hey, whatever, and something comes up in them. And now they share on that point as to how it applied. See, so through pertinence and relevance, you get to explore all the facets of the diamond. It is an incredible thing. So this part of it being an oral culture is very profound. And this also keeps it alive and living. And what guides it? You say, yeah, but how are people going to know what are the same things? Well, what, like, how are the aspirants going to learn the same things? There's a couple of reasons, and this comes later in the story, but I'll just touch on it real briefly while I'm on it now. First of all, appropriateness. Every single conversation, every single action is guided by appropriateness. Appropriateness is contextual. Well, the appropriateness in this context is, it's a school, we're learning, we're growing, we're talking about impeccability, nobility, how to behave, tools, etc. It's always in the same overall grand package. So, well, duh. And of course, this makes it a living culture. We're not saying, well, here's your rule and you've got to obey it. That's usually how things go. Well, how well does that work when you look back at rules that were made thousands of years ago? They were appropriate then, but we don't have slaves anymore, so it's like, well, your rule relative to slaves not appropriate anymore. See, so just to use one example, that's a very obvious example. Yeah, so this appropriateness keeps it alive. Is very potent. Plus, one of your tasks, your mandate as an aspirant, you're going to get told, look, you got to mix up and spread around and not just stay in the same place. And there are many things that encourage this, and this will come up later in the story, or in this the 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 extra works that come up, right, where they explain how this works. So you're very much encouraged, because in order to actually well, most aren't looking to this, not unlike something that I have to be a new noble. Most are just happy to be an aspirant, and they're not, you don't go and sign up to be a new noble. No, being an aspirant means you signed up to be a new noble. But because it's a technical issue with a corporation, right? It's like you join the corporation and you become a new noble. In order to do that, for this to happen, you have to have, I forget the number now, like 1,000 new nobles have to nominate you or have to agree. One person can nominate you, but the 1,000 have to say, yes, okay, this person is good. It's a large number. So that means you have to know, and at least know very well, at least 1,000 other people in this greater community. Now, can you imagine that in your community? Yes, if you were to in order to get your job, right, and you have to get approved by 1,000 people. Well, you have to spread yourself around and you have to make an effort to meet, and this is going to obviously take a long time. And you have to have sustained interactions with these people, not just boring stuff, because they want to know who you really are. So this is how the culture spreads. In other words, right? It's all built into it. Yeah. And Cher says absolutely. She said always brings more later. And on this point of us saying the same things and then, over and over, and then all of a sudden it clicks. She also says sometimes in other later conversations it makes sense. It just clicks, and then I get it when something cues what I need to learn and delivered when appropriate. Precisely. That pertinence and relevance. It connects to your appropriateness in the moment. It's like, it all falls into place. It's brilliant. So the whole
I just
system,
just want to add something here,
please.
sir, because this is so
Yeah, yeah.
important
Go
for
ahead,
me.
go ahead, go, go,
Sharon
go,
has
go.
said
Yeah.
right there that sometimes in other later conversation it makes sense. Uh,
We are none of that, Bina. Say it all again. Just give it a pause and then say again because you're breaking up. So just give it a pause and say again. We lost you.
is going to
Yeah, she can't hear us. There's so much lag and delay that even though I've said it, it hasn't come through to her side yet. So yeah, you're cutting out
Okay, can you hear
completely,
me now?
Bina. Yes, we can now. All right. So say all that again, please. Yeah. Now she's gonna leave and come back because when the communications go back, that's the remedy. That's the remedy. All right. So we'll wait for Bina. We'll wait for Bina. So. Okay, you back, Bina? Not yet. Oh, yes, Bina. I'm here, Bina. I'm just waiting for you before I continue with the story. So, all right, Bina having trouble there. We'll just continue with the reading and then and go for the comments here, right? So the question here, we go back to this question. If you were to wake up on a strange world with your memory gone, only able to remember one word, one concept, what would it be? Right? That addition of concept to one word is very important, right? Because it's more than a word, it's a concept. It's a starting point. So truly
Yes.
imagine that. Truly imagine that. I'm glad you're back, Bina. I'm glad you're back. Yes, you were commenting on Sher's comment there about things coming back later. Did you want to add
Yes,
to that?
yes, yes. I just want to say that what Cher has mentioned here, sometimes during this process, again, my connection is unstable. Anyway, during the process of way of impeccability, I have learned that sometimes things doesn't make sense right away. And like, okay, yes, but. And sometimes it doesn't make connections immediately to other concepts. And And in those moments, all we need is just to have trust. Trust that right now, even if it is not clicking right away, still it will make sense. There, especially, we need receptivity and to be receptive. This is what I was just saying, that we need to have trust in the process, trust in our own self that yes, we will figure it out, it will make sense, and trust in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. And understand this is how our brains work. And not
Yes.
to insist that it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense now or immediately. That's where sometimes you lock it in. So, "Oh, I don't understand. I understand. It
Yes.
doesn't make sense." And you say that's an absolute. No, just add that one
Yes.
little word. It doesn't make sense now. Oh,
Now.
wow. Oh, now you're telling your brain, keep at it. Leave the file open, in other words. Don't close the file. And this is a very, very, very crucial point, to leave that file open. Yes, and to trust that it will
Yes.
make sense at some point in the future. We just have to stick with
Oh
it long
yes.
enough, right? So this is why patience is a
Yes.
superpower. But it's also about understanding how
Yes.
your brain works. And because your brain
Hmm.
will continue trying to figure it out. And okay, I got no new information, like the detective. I can't work on the case. I've explored all the leads, but I'll wait until something comes in. Okay, I get a new lead. I pursue the lead. Okay, dead end. I'll put it again, and so you keep going. Right, that's how you
Yes.
work. Your brain is the same way.
Yes.
Very profound. All right. So this idea of
Exactly.
waking up on a strange world with your memory gone. Let's literally imagine right now. All right. So close your eyes and you say, okay, my whole world disappears, and I open my eyes and well, I don't see any trees, I don't see any plants. I've just got these. Well, I don't know. The closest thing I can think is they look like mushrooms that married tomatoes and that had babies like bananas, and these are the plants around me. Like, what the heck is this now? Well, obviously I'm not on Earth anymore, right? This is nothing to do with Earth over here. Yeah. And well, the gravity feels a little heavier or lighter or whatever. All right. So I'm totally not on Earth anymore. I'm on a strange planet. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? All right. Well, before we go here. All right. So I want just shows going on here with something very profound, right? So she says communication does have trust as the central pillar. And for cornerstones, and I love this, reason, respect, responsibility, and resolution, right? I mean, just the fact that it's 4 R's is just too fantastic, right? So we can think of those as the corners of a pyramid, and that center column going up from the base of the thing up to the pinnacle there, that's trust. Yes. And maybe you can put appropriateness up at the very top of that if you want to, right? So I have to trust my foundation will support the communications from the universe and others. Exactly. Exactly. So if I have this trust in the communication from the universe and others, reason will kick in. Respect. Well, I'm respecting that this will make sense, right? I'm respecting that you make sense, even though you may not have expressed it in a way that makes sense to me now. I'm trusting that you are intending to make sense. Yes. And the responsibility. Yes, it's my responsibility to make sense of things, right? Just this, and to be diligent and to be thorough and to be patient. Yes. And then, of course, resolution. This for me, I
Yes.
cannot let something go until I come to resolution, as a hyphenated compound term, come to resolution or coming to resolution. I can't let it go. Sometimes this has taken
Yes.
decades, most of my life. But at some point, all right, I get it now. I get it now. Eventually, right? Sometimes we learn slowly, but it doesn't matter. The point is, we do learn. Now, if I take my whole lifetime to learn something, is that a long time? Context again. Well, yeah, in the context of my lifetime, it's a long time. In the context of my eternity, well, no, it's a blip. See? So so very cool. So I love this. This idea of Scher's communication pyramid. It's a wonderful thing, right? So that nice center column, you got the sides going down, the corners, and then all the stuff in between. And like I said, trust is that center
Yes.
column, and we can put appropriateness on as the capstone. Why? Because you can put appropriateness as the capstone to any and all conception pyramids. All of them can have appropriateness as the capstone, right? Because it's the capstone for
Yes.
everything, which is the point of our story, right? So it doesn't matter what you
Yes.
put inside there, you can always have that, right? It's very cool, very cool. So go back to our to go back to our waking up on the strange world, right? We look around and we see all these weird and crazy plants, and what is the first thing you're going to do? I'm asking. I want to know. Ramsey, what's the first thing you're going to do?
For me, I'm saying that it was just trying to understand that where am I right now? Okay, where am I? But again, this question has some pre-qualification that okay, if you lose your memory, if you lose everything, and but only just one concept. So it was concluded as like curiosity. So I will have curiosity.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
was first
Exactly.
answer. Yes.
Exactly. So I have to explore my surroundings. I mean, first of all, I have to determine, is this friendly? Is it threatening?
Is it
Are there people here, beings? Can I speak? What can I eat here? Etc. Etc. Right. So I need to assess the situation, right, which is essentially exploring, which is utilizing my curiosity. Yes. And of course, I'm going to do so mindful of the fact that, well, I remember I'm not remembering anything, right? So, well, when you typically have amnesia in the sense, right, with your memory gone, you don't lose your language. You don't lose your ability to think. You just lose your memory. So I don't know who I am, but does that matter? I'm still hungry and I understand hunger, right? So memory is just the detail. You don't lose your qualities, which is why we focus so profoundly on those qualities which are nothing to do with memory, right? So if I wake up in that strange world, I think, okay, I remembered, oh, appropriateness. What is appropriate? What's the first thing with appropriateness? Well, I need to know the context in order to, well, I've got goals. Well, my goal is, I want to have shelter. I want to have food. I want to have communication, whatever, right? So again, I have to assess the circumstance, the situation. So I have to explore. And there we go. See, now you started, you explore. Uh, if I woke up in a strange world, it doesn't say you woke up in the middle of nowhere. Let's say I woke up near a town or a city. Yeah. You know what the first thing I would do is, if it was a world that in all appearances is similar to this one, but or maybe I'm in some other part of the world, but I look at the plants and say it's definitely a different world, but the buildings and that, is obviously some similarity to civilization. I'd go and look for a library. That's the first thing I would do. Because at the library, how are you not going to have access to everything you need to know to find out what's going on? And you'll have helpful librarians to help you what's going on, right? So find a library. A library is a nexus point for information. Yes? Brilliant. Cheers, yeah. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Cheers, yeah. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Sir. Hello, hello, hello. You're muted, Sir. You're muted.
I am.
yes? Never
Sorry,
occurred to
I'm
me. So
good.
I
I'm
was just
trying to
like,
be quiet.
Just so happy. All right. So, Sir, I believe, is got some more to add to her communication pyramid.
I
No?
do. I, other than no, I felt like it fit in there because
Ah.
when just backing up a little bit, I was trying to type on a very tiny phone about when you guys are talking about how when we connect to something and sometimes it comes later. I have learned that wow, I really, really, really have to dig into trust. That if something isn't working for me right now, if I'm just not getting it, that it is going to come later, just like Bina said. And
Yes.
I'll be darned if it doesn't every single time. And it could be months later.
Yes.
In some instances, it
Yes.
has been more than a
Yes.
year later that a concept
Yes.
will connect
Yes.
with me.
Yes.
Nick,
And in one instance, it was like 3 years later.
yeah, exactly. One of
Yeah.
those being trust, one of those understanding
Exactly. Exactly.
moreness. And I'm
Yes.
still
Awareness.
discovering
Yeah.
moreness. I don't
Yeah.
understand it all, but it's
Exactly.
coming.
And we might never will, and who cares? Because it's fun exploring and fun making those connections. And Ramsey says, in response to my question of what he will do first thing waking up there, I will try to start building connections with what surrounds me.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's cool.
Exactly. And know what's going on. Understand your context, right? But the way
Yeah.
he phrases it is very cool. And understanding how things around me work. Yes, exactly. Right. So if I literally woke up in the middle of a foreign, like in the wild, I absolutely would just keep still until I understood how this system works here. What the ecosystem is, what the predators are, what etc. I'll have to be careful because like there might be giant Venus flytraps that look all very fine and well, but you go walk past them and whoops, they eat you up. See? So all right, so
But
not
I
only to make those connections, but to know how they work too. Go ahead, sir.
like I say, but I can absolutely I can resonate with what he's saying
Yeah.
simply because I feel like I do that almost on a daily basis, even
I,
though
I,
I haven't
yes.
moved my
Yes.
life on a daily basis. I feel
Uh,
like I wake up in a foreign place
yes.
every day.
Exactly. Exactly. We do so often because as our awareness changes, as our ability to perceive changes, our
Right.
reality changes. So we do actually sometimes wake up in a very different world
We
because
do.
I'm in a different place. I'm seeing before I used to see everybody as, threats to me, as things that I had to get approval from.
Yes.
Holy moly, what a world to live in. Now I
Yes.
don't do that. Now to me, everything is, I see people as opportunities to connect to their moreness. It's a
I'm
whole
learning
different
to do
world.
that. I'm learning to trust that because,
Yeah,
well, like I
yeah,
discovered today,
yeah.
awareness is not always pretty. It's
Exactly,
something I'm writing about
exactly,
today, that awareness just
exactly,
isn't always pretty. It's
exactly,
not all sunshine and
exactly,
roses.
exactly, exactly. Now,
So when people
what I,
put out love and light, I'm just like, well, it's not always that way. So,
exactly. However, right, when we understand, particularly with people, that we grow up having this idea that people are this way and you are this way. Is that
yes,
actually true? Hell no, it's not true. People change, I change.
yes,
My connection, that's why I loved what Ramsey said, right? His first point was there, right? To connect, yes? To
yes,
to to connect, to start building connections. Because if I now go to any government agency, the DMV, IRS, whatever, I usually have a very pleasant and happy interaction. Yes. Whereas most people, oh man, that's hell going there. Because I take my mood, my attitude, and I understand that this and my perception of the person on the other side of the counter there can change how they behave because I have a receptive, open perception, which is focusing in on their moreness. They like, wow, this is a different, customer or whatever they call us, and this and they do respond because they don't get that usual grumpy, antagonistic, and like, yes, come on, hurry up, do your job, you stupid idiot, and all this nonsense, right? So when
This
they
is
get
exactly what
positivity,
I was
they
thinking.
respond with positivity. So in other words, you came just before me and you come just after me, you're going to get a different person to who I interacted with. Why is that? Because I changed the dynamic. So my point is through connectivity, the environment can change. And this can also happen in nature. Yes. If
I
you
never
walk
thought
around
of
like
that.
prey, you're going to have things seeing you as prey and they're going to want to attack you. Yeah. So if you walk around as a predator, you're going to have things run away with you. Well, can we do a different thing where we don't have this? Yes, we can. If you walk around like a tree, well, things leave you alone pretty much, like they do trees, you see? Or you walk around like an elephant, see? Yeah. So the different relations. I mean, most things will, get out of the way of an elephant, but they don't see an elephant as a predator. So different ways of being, different ways of being. Go ahead, Bina. Go ahead, Bina.
No, this is exactly when you were saying that, okay, what you are going to check. And when you mentioned that, then I realized that it was not even a thought in my mind that the environment could be threatening. And I was like, okay, why I
Yeah,
was not expecting that. So by
yeah,
default, my idea was that, okay, I'm going to just explore that and be
yeah.
curious about it. because
Yeah.
in my mind it was by default going to be a welcoming and positive and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
If of course we should not negate the possibilities of something different
Yeah.
can happen,
Yeah.
but as you were saying about the queuing, because we are because we are feeling awkward, when we are feeling uncomfortable, or when we feel that okay, we are not safe, not protected, universe just provide us appropriate environment for that. So if you are not protected, if you are not feeling safe, then you will manifest more into life. Of course,
Exactly.
it has more depth into it, because then people will say that okay, how we actually just manifest these unpleasant situation in our life.
Yeah.
It's a different debate because it has so much more into this. But
Yes. Yes.
this realization when you were saying that by default, my idea was that it is going to be like, okay, yes, a blue sky, and I'm going to just explore that. This was
Yeah.
my default. And I had no
Yes.
idea that it could be any different than just being positive.
Yeah. 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 But that's a good starting point. But again, we want positivity without naivety.
Of course, of
And of
course.
course, we also want what's appropriate. And in a strange situation, you need to have strategy. That's why strategy is so
Yes,
core, right?
yes.
So your
And this
appropriate
is my
strategy says
default
don't
mode.
assume, right?
Yes, but this is my default mode in general. This is how I
I
perceive
know, and
things.
it works. It works for you in general, but you have learned.
Absolutely.
You absolutely
Absolutely.
have learned that you need to be strategic sometimes, because yes,
Yes.
you are positive, but like I think today you just took an action where you put out that positivity,
Oh,
and somebody
that
took
was something
took
really
advantage
transformative,
a
sir.
little bit of it. Yes,
Yes,
and
that was
so
really transformative.
exactly, exactly. So can you share in the abstract what we're talking about, Mina?
Okay. Okay. So,
Before you go, one moment, because this is a big side story that we're going to get into here now about appropriateness. It's a very cool story, but I want to respond to Ramzi real quick. So
yes.
Ramzi, just something that we practice, we train, we go over and over, and it's very, very essential two-way of impeccability and the dictionary of power is to have abstract conceptions which are very inclusive, right? And we do this so that we don't have to remember the specific details, right? Because when you remember the abstract overview, what follows is it follows. You figure it out as appropriate. It connects automatically. However, if you remember 101 details, you have to remember them. The specific behaviors, and then to go back up from there. Well, that's tricky, and you can't easily go from one specific detail to the other because you don't know how they connect, right? So we want that connecting abstract conception. And in this case, on your last comment there about not letting people finish their logic, right? This falls under respect.
Yes, it
That's
does.
where respect comes in, right? So if you
Yes.
want to communicate and give people space to finish their sentences and finish their logic, as you said, not just their sentences, but their logic, this is just basic to respect. So you see, respect is the overview abstract concept there that actually applies to what you said in the specific. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's the value of it, because to you that's a key issue, but it falls under respect. But somebody else might say, well, it's not just about letting me finish my logic, it's also about letting me pause. See,
Oh, yeah.
respect again, right? Part of communication.
But
So
there's,
I just wanted to make this point. Sorry, sure. I just want to finish it quickly. I know I paused long there, but to make this point about the abstract conception here, right? And how when we have an abstract, it leads us to those detailed particulars. Go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
oh, actually, no, I was, I was responding to something else that was going on here and I'm not muted. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. All good, all good. Hello, CJ. That's all good.
He says
So
hi.
this is a you still unmuted, sir.
Oh,
There we go. This is again. See, I just when we practice communication, I assumed it was inadvertent by Sher. I trusted her motivations. I respected her intents. Yes. So this is very, very profound, very useful. But this concept of having these abstract overview, top level conceptions like those there, they cover so much. And if you remember that, well, Okay, see, respect covered what you said. You see what I'm saying, Ramsey, in terms of shifting our thinking to go from remembering stuff to having understanding. And that's where we want to be, right? And this understanding, these conceptions allow us to be discerning, allow us to be aware, and therefore allow us to act appropriately. It's very, very powerful. So if for me, particularly in this circumstance, Ramsey, if ever you feel that you haven't finished with your logic, or we're jumping in soon, just say so. Say, hey, there's more. Just hang on. There's more. Right. I mean, again, because the typing is a little bit delayed, sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect there. Yes. So please, say, and if I'm, my ears are very fast. So sometimes, really, I mean that my ears listen very fast. So time gets compressed. I think like I'm listening to somebody, I'm going, yeah, yeah. And somebody might just think I'm just saying, yeah, by rote. But internally, between those yeses for me, or yes, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. It's like a long time internally for me, when in actuality, it's maybe a second, or even sometimes, less than a second or whatever. So it just things come exactly. Yeah, respect, but more humbleness. Right. So when you respect your position, your relative understanding, right? When you respect yourself, you respect everything. How does humility not follow from respect? I respect the fact that the universe, has all this knowledge and information, compared to me. Well, okay, I have to respect that I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. So humility automatically follows, right? You see? A lot I realize think they know better and convince you without listening. Exactly. Superiority complexes. Precisely. Ramsey, that's what we are doing in these lives. We are unhooking from this. I'm not interested in convincing anyone of anything. I'll share my point as fully as I can, but to convince you, no. That's that telling mindset. So part of our mandate, as it were, or if I have to say, our strategy of this new interactive, this interaction, this new community, this new platform, is to say, share, don't tell. Right? I say it to all the people in the group when I can, in Sassy, say, please, share, don't tell. And I'm going to change how we do things in the group anyway, and I'll emphasize that more. And I've spoken on this many, many times. Yes, when you're trying to convince people and sell, that's superiority paradigm nonsense. Listen to me, I'm important, I'm intelligent, I'm wise. You're looking to raise yourself up in the hierarchy, right? But when you don't have that interest, then I'm just sharing. If you take it or leave it, that's fine by me. Plus, I don't want to force you to do anything. How do I do that? How can I ethically actually convince you? If I succeed, I'm basically programming you. And how is that ethical? That's a terrible thing to do to somebody, to remove their option to choose. No, we're all about awareness. And choice is equivalent to awareness, right? That's how you increase, raise, enhance, develop your awareness, through making conscious, deliberate choices. Yes, free choices, free choices. So yeah, it all works together. So this is a great point, Ramsey. Again, I'm always check myself. I don't want to assume that I'm not behaving inappropriately, because we do. Yeah. So if you ever see me being inappropriate, you just tell me, please, Ramsey, and I will. I don't know. I'm not assuming that this is directed at me or us or any of us here. I'm just using it as a check, because that's just how it works for me. Yeah, right. Respect with humility is sharing. Yes. In my opinion, this took me forever to learn how not to tell. Yes. And again, sure, wasn't caught up in the superiority paradigm, in terms of the ego and all that. It was just, this is what you're supposed to do. In a group like this, you're supposed to give advice. You're supposed to tell people how to live and be and all that, right? Yeah. Exactly. When one argues with an ignorament, as a princess would say, this is from another story. It's a fun story where she calls them ignoramuses. Anyway,
Mhm.
exactly, or ignoramuses. They always win. Exactly. But a part of our unhooking from the superiority paradigm, I've thrown this word win out. When you're trying to win, it's always relative. Yeah. All right. So, I win playing Monopoly against a 3-year-old. Yeah, big whoop, But I know people who genuinely get excited. I won, I won, I won. They're like, really? So it distorts our understanding. We're interested in learning, in actual value, actual usefulness, actual enhancements and developments to our awarenesses. What do I care about winning and losing? It's totally not relevant. It's not even in my mindset. That's hierarchy thinking. So yes, so I truly make every effort to. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that because for the ignorant, they're trying to win an argument or a discussion. No, that's why we don't even have arguments, because an argument is essentially this. I need to make my point. I need to win. No, we have discernments. We have discussions. It's like you say something, I say something. It's like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Oh, that's very interesting. And I trust your intent. So, man, you know what? Sure, that didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't get what you're saying in the least. Now I actually should say it the other way around, because Sure said that to me. So, really, so you keep saying this, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't compute. Well, let's try it a different way. See? So when we trust the intent of the communication, we keep coming at it. Go ahead, please. Go. I love it. Please say, sir. Please say.
Oh, me? Oh, okay.
Yes, that's her. That's her. The one,
My
yeah.
turn. Hey, going back to what you were talking about somebody goes to, like, say, the DMV or whatever, giant government office you need to go to. I had never thought about how you express that, where our connection, how we approach others and how we connect with others will affect what happens after. And I'd never really given that any thought before until you just mentioned it. So yay for that. But based on that, where that came from is because what you were just talking about and what Ramsey said, I really firmly believe that if we are so busy telling, how are we ever going to open up our ears and mind long enough to learn?
Exactly.
What to tell, what to share.
Exactly. The arrogance of it is just too freaking unbelievable. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, so I learned, no, I was not coming from, a big-headed position when I first started writing and putting content out. But, and it was a gentle lesson that you had shared with me about, this is the difference. This is what happens when we tell, and this is what happens when we share. And it took a long time to undo that habit. Because by and large, when we write, the newspapers, when they write, they're telling, they're not sharing. But they're doing it, I feel like, with an inadvertency of, it's an inappropriate application of goodness. They're wanting to give the public information, but it's coming out as this is a fact and not a possibility.
Most of those posts in group are inappropriate application of goodness. They're not trying to be lauded over you and say this and that. They're doing what they think they should do, what they're supposed to do, in inverted commas, right? So inappropriate application of goodness, absolutely.
Right. So that's why I was saying earlier that sharing is, or not sharing, but awareness isn't always pretty. And I learned that today.
Exactly.
Because being aware of those things that, our habits, they can be really uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
And
oh, yes.
Like waking up in the middle of a place and you just go, I'm not sure what I'm doing or what I'm supposed to be doing or how I'm supposed to act or, what's around the corner. Those awarenesses, right. Those awarenesses can be really eye-opening.
They can bite you.
They can bite you. If you're not, if we're not paying attention.
Exactly.
I feel like, that it could bite us instead of benefit.
Exactly. And most of the time, when people don't give you space to finish your logic, finish your point, or interrupt your sentences, what are they listening to? They're not listening to you. They're listening to what is going on inside their heads, what they're going to say next. Right? So if you want to practice listening, stop listening to your own inner dialogue and actually listen to the other person. So don't listen to what you're going to say, how you're going to reply, etc. No, just listen to them until they're done. Right? Very cool. Very, very cool point. So this is a big point, yes, you know, to make that space for moreness to come. Yeah.
Yes. So I just need to go and I'll be
Mm.
back soon.
All right. See you soon, Bina. See you soon. See you soon. The other point here too that came up for me while you were saying this is when we are sharing and interacting in this profound way, we make space for things to come, and that's very cool. So you know, when you make that, you know, in terms of telling and sharing. Oh, the point I wanted to make was that the superiority paradigm affects what you hear also. Somebody in the superiority paradigm that's evaluating everything and assumes, just takes it for granted, right? And I had this, somebody did this, right? Or I get it regularly. So when they watch this, they hear me sharing stuff, but in their mind, because it goes through the filter of the superiority paradigm, they cannot imagine that I would just be sharing. Why on earth would you just be sharing? Where's the value in that? How does this help you get any thing? Why are you making this effort to come on Zoom if you're not doing it to boost your self-importance, to promote yourself in some way, to boost an hierarchy? That's their thing. They don't even consciously think about it. It's a default. So to them, well, duh, he's telling us stuff. Well, why else would he be doing this if he's not telling? That's their motivation. That's their logic, right? So they can't actually hear. They can't actually perceive what it is that I'm actually doing. It all goes through that filter and gets distorted by this underlying superiority paradigm. And I have people who don't want to join because they think I'm giving a lecture, because they think I'm trying to teach them or whatever. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this at all. I'm sharing. I'm very excited. I'm very enthusiastic about what I'm sharing. And yes, internally, you know, I've got a lot of things that I can share about because I've spent my whole life really making an effort to go into depth and in detail. So, all right, I've got a lot to share, you know, shoot me. Right. It's a big point, though, to understand, though, that when you're sharing with others, they're not always necessarily in a space where they can hear what you say because it gets filtered and thereby
Oh,
distorted. So what you say and what they hear is not always the same thing. So just be aware of that, right? When you shift out of this paradigm in terms of communication here, you have to respect the fact that they are still in that other paradigm. So this is a very big point, right? Right, sir? A
yes,
very big point. Very,
absolutely.
very big
Absolutely.
point.
I really
Yeah.
like what Ramsey wrote there,
Please read. Please read.
where he put, I learned after I became more mature to be like a sponge, suck up the information. I think he meant soak up or whatever, but the
Yeah.
information from conversations and never express anything or share information unless squeezed. Squeezed is being asked for my opinion or advice. And I like that. I like that
Yes.
analogy.
I love
Um,
that analogy of the sponge.
that's
Yes. Good.
true. That's true. But you
That's
know what?
very cool.
Sometimes I feel like I'm being squeezed even when I'm not being asked for my opinion or my advice. And
Mm.
then I get that pressure to have to say something. And sometimes I'll blurt it out. But
Yeah.
by and large, I'm getting
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
getting better at it.
Well, you know, when we understand we can get squeezed by others, we can get squeezed by the universe, we can get
Yeah.
squeezed by the environment, and particularly, to put just one word on it, we get squeezed by our insecurity or
Oh,
insecurities.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big, well, you just dropped a big bomb in the whole thing right there. You did.
Exactly. Exactly.
You did.
Exactly. That is a big bomb, but it's a beautiful way of thinking of it. Oh, I'm being squeezed by my insecurities. Holy
Yeah.
moly. Holy moly. Holy moly. And when you look around, this
Thank you,
is
Ramsey.
usually the issue. This is the issue. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
gonna write that down in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little chat here so it's saved. Let
Mm,
me see.
mm, mm.
Squeeze
Yes. Wonderful.
by
Wonderful. I
my
love that.
insecurities. Thank you for
Wonderful.
that
I
cue,
love that.
Ramsey. That was amazing.
Yep. Yep. And the sponge analogy. Be the
I
sponge.
know that
Yes.
was
And
cool.
yeah. And you know, sometimes you got to squeeze yourself
What? How?
by stepping up.
Okay, well, I did that today. I'm proud of
Yes. You do it regularly. You squeeze yourself all the time.
that. Do I?
Yeah. Oh, all the time, all the time. Is you like perpetually putting a bit. Sometimes I think you may even over squeeze a little bit. That sponge is dry, girl. You know, like let it be. It needs to reconstitute so that it can absorb, right?
Okay.
If you
Okay.
hold on to a squeeze too tight, right, a sponge too tight, it's that little shriveled up thing there. It can't actually, it's it's closed. So you need to let it
Right.
go. You need to let it go. You need to really reinflate a little bit. So basically, that's power pausing. Power pausing, not just in a conversation, which is sometimes just a second or two, but power pausing in your life also. Let go that squeeze. Don't always have to be throttling the life out of yourself. So squeezing
Huh.
is about a yeah, squeezed by anything with an ability to squeeze. Exactly so, right? But we can squeeze ourselves. We can, and, like I said, stepping up, or we can be. Well, if I give my insecurities too much life or my aspects, okay, well, I've got my Mr. Stubborn that's coming into it. Right, I can get squeezed by Mr. Stubborn, which is just a sub personality. All right, or I can get squeezed by Mr. Impeccability too, which is great too, or Mr. A, which, well, that can be really excellent when I'm doing my accounts, but when it comes to keeping my desk precisely exactly neat and tidy, well, no, now it's inappropriate again. So we have to really watch the squeezing, and it's a wonderful analogy. We have to really pay attention to who and what and how squeeze is being applied or not applied, because sometimes the absence of squeeze, you say, well, I'm not being squeezed by anything. Well, I'm a bit unmotivated.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, see, and
So
I just
so
now
we
I'm
can
thinking
seek
of
squeeze.
now I'm thinking of thank you to Ramsey again of what
Yeah,
and you what are all the factors that can squeeze us, and I'm meaning us by
exactly.
anyone, including
Exactly.
myself.
Exactly. Pertinence, relevance, appropriateness, emphasis.
Yeah.
Right there. Those are your squeeze factors.
Okay. What
Yes.
did you say again?
I
Pertinence.
said pertinence and relevance, or pertinence, relevance, emphasis, and thus appropriateness, right? Because that's how those three all come. Because what's emphasized for me is not necessarily emphasized for you. It all depends on what's appropriate for us. It all follows from appropriateness, right? So we get this little golden triangle, and in the center of it is appropriateness, right? So we got the golden triangle of pertinence, relevance, and emphasis, right? Because
Okay.
pertinence and relevance are particular instances of emphasis, yes?
Okay.
Because it's a golden triangle with emphasis in the middle, or a little pyramid again, right? With appropriateness at the top, that's how something is determined to be pertinent or relevant, because it's appropriate to you. How is it appropriate to you? Because, well, I've been focusing on this. See, and then it becomes pertinent and relevant. So when you look at through that lens, you always understand it comes back to this. And pertinence and relevance and emphasis, well, particularly pertinence and relevance, are very deeply connected to your motivations. And again, comes back to appropriateness, right? Because if I'm motivated, well, I'm motivated to win. Whatever my motivations are to win, everything that's relevant and pertinent to that now starts to be noticed by me and thus emphasized. See, that's how our brains are set up. That's how they work. But if
Mhm.
I'm motivated, which is again why clarity of intent is so important, because this clarifies how you are motivated. And that's the key squeeze, right? And everything follows from that. Why clarity of intent is so essential, because it determines how you're going to be squeezed via pertinence, relevance, and emphasis. Yeah.
Okay.
If,
My brain is like,
all right, let me say it again. I was going kind of fast. I love this. I love this. Yeah. See, now, please, every one of you, please appreciate what Sher just did there. He
yeah,
just said,
I
"Well,
just said that
that just
my
went."
brain can't do that.
Well, then we start again. See, there's no problem. We
Okay.
start again. So maybe, well, if Bina was here, I would say, well, all right, let Bina, you say it, because just to give that perspective. Because when we tend to say things, we have a way of saying it. So I have to really kind of shift my brain to say, how can I explain this from a completely different angle, right? And I love this. So let me get clarity of intent here. What exactly is your question again, please, sure?
Well, I disconnect whenever the word motivation comes into play.
Ah,
And here's
ah,
why.
ah,
Because to
ah.
me, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around a different way of looking at motivation. To me, motivation is connected to like my mental health. my, whether or not I'm depressed or anxious or where I am.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
So I'm trying to
Interesting.
disconnect from
Okay.
that.
Okay. So let's replace the word motivation by squeeze.
Okay. Now see, squeeze works for some reason. I don't know why.
Isn't that fascinating? Now listen to this, please. Anybody watching this and listening to we had a profound moment here. Motivation. How the hell do you not understand what motivation is? That happens. Sometimes our brain gets overloaded with connectivities, the wiring, and that a particular concept or a word simply means something else. Yeah. So then we can apply a synonym, a substitute, and it all falls into place again. This is profound. This is profound. And the willingness of Sher to share this. What a fantastic example and exemplification of what we're talking about. So now we say, okay, forget motivation, squeeze. Squeeze comes as a function of what your intent is, what you want to do, and having clarity. If I want to do a zillion things, well, how do I get squeezed for all these different things that may conflict and compete with each other for time and attention and energy and all that, right? So when I select one and say, okay, well, what is it? What is my intent? What am I doing now? What do I want to do? Okay, communication. Right. Well, I want to communicate. I don't only want to communicate, but I want to communicate about communication.
Yes.
Yes? All right. So now what squeezes me? Well, uh, okay, is the conversation going there? Is it appropriate to jump this in? I see appropriateness comes back into it. Well, no, I have this. I want to share this. It's a big deal for me. I wrote this. I figured this out. I came up with this beautiful structure, and it was so fantastic. And I had all these power terms in there. And furthermore, these power terms, where they had the alliteration going out, was just a wonderful thing. Okay, I want to share my point on communication, but I also want to be appropriate. See? So now you've got a modifier to your squeeze. Right? You're being squeezed by the desire to share about communication, your communication pyramid, but also you've got this modifier on there about appropriateness. So you wait, and then something came up, and yes, what's else? Yeah, okay, cool. And now it's appropriate for me to share, and you did. And look at this wonderful conversation that came about from your squeeze to share this moreness that was a big deal to you. And it is legitimately a big deal, not just to you. You weren't saying, oh, look how clever I am. I came up with this thing. You wanted to celebrate this and appropriately so, right? And you came and you did. And we said, wow, wonderful. This is fantastic because it's a wonderful way for us to conceive and connect to communication, even though we may understand this, but you put it in a nice package, right? You added to it all. So you see the squeeze and how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
I do.
So now, of course, your brain, right? Because you had that squeeze to share your communication permit, and you had two squeezes to share and to be appropriate. So your brain started looking for pertinence and relevance, and
Oh,
you see, you
okay.
found the appropriate time and opportunity to say, oh, wait a second, this is appropriate for me to share this now. It's pertinent and it's relevant because the conversation as we went along made that opening for you. But your brain was on alert for that opening. Otherwise, look, I mean, the others in the thing there, is, like you say, Ramsey didn't necessarily see that particular thing, whatever it was said at the time, as an opening to talk about communication, right? But because his brain was on other things. So this is the magic of squeeze. It leverages, it forces, it enables, it brings about, it connects, it filters what is pertinent and relevant to our chosen squeeze. Yeah. You chose to be squeezed by your desire to share. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could have said, yes, I want to, but
Gives a whole
maybe
new
say the
meaning to the term main squeeze.
exactly. Exactly. Our main squeeze is always appropriateness.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that
I'm
way
gonna
we
write
can
that
never
one
go
down
wrong.
too.
Yeah. 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 I'm in a relationship and my main squeeze is appropriateness.
I like that. I like that. I really
Thank
like
you,
that.
Ramsey. Thank you, Ramsey. Same to
Really,
you, man.
I
Same to you.
know.
Same to you. When we truly understand, recognize, appreciate, celebrate, and particularly connect to the deep deep intent to goodness, and also as a bonus, the intent to moreness in others changes everything. Right?
Yes.
See, we recognize your intent to goodness and your intent to moreness, Ramsey. Now, an intent to goodness, this I feel is pretty much in everybody, right? Because otherwise you'd self-destruct if you didn't have
Yeah,
that, right?
I agree.
You'd implode. But the intent to mournus, this is a bonus. This is not a necessity of life. The intent to mournus, yeah, it's a bonus. It's added. So not everybody has that, and they don't need to. Doesn't make them bad or wrong or whatever. Just that's just how it is. We have different. I've got
Yeah.
whatever color hair I have, and you've got some other color hair. I've got whatever the hell you call this thing over here, and you've got a nice nose. All right. Yes.
No,
I'm
no,
so
no.
I know. I'm just total
I think the
histrionic
universe messed
hyperbole
up
there.
on noses. I really do.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I mean, it just the obviousness that well, I've got a relatively normal nose makes for the amusement there. So humor at least. At least I think it's funny. So I had a joke, yeah. So I'll try my joke here now. Sure. Did you hear what happened to butter?
No.
Well, I know I shouldn't pass along rumors, but I just can't help spreading this.
Okay.
You know what I like about this joke?
I'm gonna
I
have
share,
to share that with CJ.
yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's knucklehead humor. It's kind of
Yes.
silly. It's kind of corny, but yet it's funny. Now,
Well,
now,
good.
why I'm sharing this joke here? I don't know why I jumped there I said humor, and humor. See my brain's connectivity. I said with a
Yeah.
nose humor, and so it just jumped because I shared this joke with Bina. And because I heard it in a different way, and then I sort of repackaged it already. But when Bina came on, I said to him, I said, Bina, did you hear what happened to butter? But I was very earnest in my joke. And Bina's like, no, I didn't hear. And, and she was like, took this so seriously that when I said the joke, she's like, no response. Like, yeah, and well, where's the rumor now? Spread it. I want to hear what's going on. The joke just completely and utterly flopped spectacularly. It was most joyful. It was too fantastically awesome that it completely flopped. So again, to leverage this in our greater sharing, right? Perspective shifting. Yeah, if you have ego and you tell a joke and it flops, well, then we're like, oh, and you feel all bad. No, my joke flopped like crazy, and it didn't matter. I was actually kind of anticipating my joke flopping a bit, yeah, but you found it amusing, which is fantastic. So I love it. You never know with humor. But
You
yeah,
never do.
just a simple, silly joke. But it's all in the delivery. I guess I was too serious and too earnest to be that because she's used to me being honest and serious. So she just took it that way. And maybe in her mind, she thought butter may be a name of somebody, some celebrity, that she doesn't know who it is. Because many things that I refer to, it's different. She's not aware of it. So
Right.
she's makes that allowance. So yeah, there
Mhm.
was Butterbean, the boxer,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but not everybody gets our, not every, I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly,
I've learned to appreciate that not everyone will get my type of
exactly,
humor. And I don't
exactly,
always get
exactly.
everybody else's,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
I don't, I've learned to not let it
Yeah,
bother me.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
going back to the squeeze idea, um, I'm really pleased that I'm not letting my
yeah,
ego be the
yeah.
squeezer so
Exactly,
much anymore.
exactly, exactly. So this concept of squeeze, actually, uh, I was just going to say, you already have added it to your dictionary of power. So I'm going to put it in there as well
I'm
as
gonna,
a
yeah, it's going into mine. That's for sure.
yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure.
So oh, not school. Oh, dang, gee was. Oh, I mean, really now. Holy moly, man. Seriously,
That's a good way to, if you spelled it like that. I mean,
Yes, yes. Schools. I don't know. You can't even say it. So schools. That'll be
that's
schools, I
fun.
guess. So that would be a New York squeeze, yeah.
Schools, yeah, scusi is would be
Schools.
Italian, so squeeze,
Yeah,
schools.
yeah. Schools. Yeah, yeah. Excuse me. Anyway,
Yeah,
different skews. But all right, so I love this. I love that we can just go on side tracks of fun and joy. So Ramsey, please read there for me. So
Oh, so where do you want me to start at the beginning?
no, where Ramsey saying the next point there, depression.
Hold on a second. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Depression, Chair Marchman Day, for me, is a healthy natural process. Ooh, I want to get into that. I think it is a
Yes.
rubber band that projects us towards success, especially when you do not accept to live crushed by life.
Yeah.
Let me see, I always like to get depressed because it brings up the best in me. I learned to accept depression, but neutralize the negative feelings associated with it. It taught me not to accept living weak.
Wow.
Yes,
Very
I was
powerful.
talking
Very
about
powerful.
depression
So
earlier. Oh, and
yes.
you know what? Martika is online. So hello, dear.
Oh, is Martika come to join us here?
She
Oh, by
has.
the way, you guys, keep an eye on the likes and the loves at the top there, right? Because when people do click on that, it's like Tommy is here again. Tommy, you gotta come and
Yeah,
join us, mate. We love that you're here, but please just say hi so I know you're here, so I can say hello, Tommy. I know some
yeah.
people like to just, be as they called in groups lurkers, but truly, Tommy, I really, really, really would love to hear from you, and deeply, deeply. I don't care what you say. We don't have any kind of assessments or judgments or evaluations here. No.
We
Yes,
have
I do say
to.
things like, man, I love this. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means I love it, right? And we celebrate difference. We celebrate difference.
What
And
happened to the screen? There's like, it looks like a
the
tunnel.
infinity. Yeah, it's because
Oof.
it's feeding back on itself there. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that
Okay,
that's why
so
I like it
so
when you guys read the comments, because in order for me to, well, I just have to go there. I have to,
um
share. So yeah,
the depression that Ramsey was talking about, I can really
yeah,
appreciate, and I would love to be able to um
yeah,
have a different outlook, or I guess just an impression of depression whenever it hits me.
yeah,
I try hard to motivate myself
yeah,
when I'm feeling it, when it does come,
yeah,
um, because I have to
yeah.
work hard on in those moments
Yes, yes,
to do
yes,
anything, to function,
yes,
and
yes,
if I did not have
yeah,
this is, I don't like to use it as a crutch, but if CJ were not in my life, I would have a very difficult time battling depression. I would.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes. Or you don't
well,
know
yeah,
that
I
you.
might.
Yeah.
I know that I used to, and
There
especially
you
after,
go. Precision language. Yeah.
yeah, after Larry had transitioned, had he not been with me, had not CJ been with me,
Yeah.
I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be speaking
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's very powerful. Well, in other words, if we go to come back to that earlier where you shared about respect, and then Ramsey came with a particular thing, and he didn't connect it to respect necessarily. So if we
Right.
look at that overview, Ramsey, to share again this logic of what I'm saying in the dictionary of power, what is the appropriate dictionary of power conception that determines this, governs this, that helps us on this? Perspective shifting. That's what
Yes.
you're doing, right? You
Yeah.
perspective shifting on depression. It is
Yep.
why perspective shifting is so incredibly powerful. Now, we also want to say that when we put this perspective shifting into our dictionary of power, it is perspective shifting to all caps, multiple perspectives. You got to shout
Yes, it
that
is.
multiple,
Yes, it
because it's
is.
crucial, because you can shift between one perspective and another, and well, you're just seeing both the negative sides of something, and that's typically what happens in depression. You look at it another way and you'll see 10 or whatever, you'll see multiple negative ways, but you got to keep going until you find that positive,
Right.
and you
Right.
did.
And I
You
do
found the
appreciate,
positive out of depression. It's very profound.
yeah, it is. And I appreciate also what he puts down here. He says depression
Yeah.
plus meditation equals medication, which I don't
Yes.
take, it does, but not
Yes.
for, like you taught me yesterday, Sil,
Yeah.
not for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to be careful to say that,
Yeah.
for us, something works and it may not work for others. Um,
Yes.
just
Yes.
because, I mean, like when you've got, when you're facing certain life circumstances or situations, um,
Yes.
medication might not always work. Neither does meditation. Meditation for me can be very, what do you call it? There's times when it can make things worse. It can exacerbate the situation. So,
Yes.
yeah, it just depends. It depends on who you are and what your situation is, really, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Ramsey, for me, this is just such a deep habit. And since you now started this in me today, see, my brain is on this thread of going to those abstract overall conceptions, which help us, because once we have them deep in our system, we can go almost anywhere from them, right? So I'm just applying this. So to take your same statement there, and we say depression plus mood management equals moodication.
Oh, moodication. I remember that one.
Yes, yes. Now I love moodication, right? And I've got that fun. Uh, I made a meme of this cow,
Yeah,
and
we
it says,
did.
"Have you self-moodicated today?" Right? You were with me, sure. Right, right.
Yep.
So it came from a thing that came up in what we were doing. So I made that, and it was very cool, right? This moodication that it came from. So to moodicate, self-moodicate is a very profound skill, and it comes from mood management. Now, of course, mood management is in kind of a triangle or a pyramid with energy management, with association management, right? Because how, like we said with motivation, for sure, motivation has a negative association with mental health and all that, right? So association management. But if we change that, let's assume that Sir Cayman's, well, motivation, and let's say she's in a corporate job and she's in the office there, and it's HR or the supervisor or manager or boss or whatever saying, hey, you got to do motivation and blah, blah. They're going all about motivation. And so it's just like, this is just depressing her. But then if she perspective shifts and says, oh, squeeze, okay, me, I can now change this understanding, my association of motivation as a negative, to say, well, oh, it's actually just squeeze. Oh, that's very positive. Oh, okay, boss. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'll squeeze myself. Or you might just say motivate, and in your mind you're saying squeeze. But see, change the association. So, and also then change your energy. When we are typically like depression, and depression is so profoundly connected and deeply associated with energy. The lower our energy, the easier it is to be depressed, right?
Yes.
When people wake up in the morning with high energy, have you ever seen a high energy depressed person?
No.
Now, I'm not assuming it's not possible, but I don't think I have, right? Well, because you can have high functioning psychopaths. Well, maybe you got a high functioning depressed person, right? So, but typically when people wake up with high energy, they full of beans and they love life and life is wonderful. They wake up in low energy, oh, life is terrible, everybody's negative, the world sucks, and it's all a bad place, right? So mood management thus is intimately connected to energy management. Now, why do I add association management there? Because let's take those first two, mood management. So Cher comes along and we're all talking about motivation. And Cher's like, yeah, whatever, right? And she's getting lower and lower in her energy because this is a negative on her mood. So she could be applying mood management and energy management, but it's still not working. Why? Because the topic, the pressure, the squeeze that's coming from the environment and the conversation, everything, is one which has a negative association. So sometimes, even if we're paying attention to energy management and mood management, we still have to also take care of association management, right? So they all work together, right? Little golden triangle again. I love these. There's so many of these little golden triangles or pyramids, right? It's just too fantastic. I call them golden triangles, and it's just a big deal because so many are just in threes. Yeah, and very, very cool. Let's see. Meditation for me is a different ritual than how different people meditate. Yes, it's fascinating. I will inbox you how I meditate to see if it will work for you. Thank you, Ramsey.
We'll be
That's
right
very,
back.
very.
So
So, yeah, sure. Ramsey, I do connect and interact with a lot of people for whom meditation is a huge deal, and pretty much everybody meditates in a different way. It's too fascinating. is too fascinating. I remember way back when, I mean, really now way back when I was 11, right? And this was right when transcendental meditation was coming out, right? And it was a big thing, was all over the world. The Beatles had done it a few years earlier than that. And so but you know, they kind of started to bring awareness to this, right? What was his name? Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, I think was the main guy involved behind. He may still be around, actually. I think, I don't know. Anyway, I know transcendental meditation is still around. Nonetheless, it became this thing, and it was kind of sweeping the world because they did at universities study this, and people under meditation, and they got science involved. So they said, look, it does work. It really does work. And I don't know if many people know today, right, that transcendental meditation is what kicked off and brought meditation to mainstream in the Western world, right? Because out in the East, obviously, it's always been a long time thing, yeah. So this was the starting point of it, and it was very cool. Like today, we take meditation, even have it on your insurance. Yeah, meditation, you can get paid to go to meditation classes to reduce stress, and your insurance will cover it. It's quite fascinating as preventative medicine. It's so mainstream that even the insurance covers it. Anyway, but the point I want to make is that, so you had the little classes, they taught you how to have a mantra, and it was a particular type of a meditation. And that's something else that sort of came with this whole transcendental meditation, that it's transcendental meditation. It's a little different to other meditations. So part of that, at least at the time, was that meditation varies, it changes, it's not always the same. There are different kinds of meditation, and that was pretty cool. Now over time, though, as I see now, most people talk about meditation and they sort of assume it's a standard thing, right? But then when you actually speak to them and you ask them, what's your meditation practice? They'll say this, this, and that. And then they might even though in their thinking, they have thought that it's the same for everybody, they say, well, I meditate a little differently. But yeah, whenever I ask people about their meditation, or whenever they share, I don't actually ask them all that often, but whenever they share their meditations, you can ask 10 people and you're going to get 10 different answers. It's very powerful. So the other point with the transcendental meditation was that they gave you a mantra. And in this, you had a little private session with an instructor. And I remember there was a handkerchief involved. You had to bring a handkerchief. I don't remember exactly. But the key was that they customized how you particularly did that motivation. You got your individual mantra. Yes, there were other things that were in common, but still, there was that element of customization, however small. So they did build into it that the customization was unique. So yeah, that's why I suspected that you would be a high energy depressed person. When I'm depressed, is I take myself from down to higher spiritual and energy levels as soon as I wake up. Early morning, just after you wake up, working on your theta phase. When you wake up, changes your whole day. Precisely. It's part of Way of Impeccability as the strategies for mood management. Mood management is a big part. There's a whole module on it and many different techniques. Not only first thing in the morning, last thing in the day, and then throughout the entire day. There are all sorts of very specific techniques and strategies to leverage energy management and mood management. So yeah, that's one of them. Before you open your eyes, start choosing your mood. Yeah, choose your mood, choose your mood, choose your mood. Yeah, we don't always wake up in the moods we want to, but we can choose them deliberately. So very, very cool and powerful point. Very, very cool. All right. I love this. I love this. Okay, so here we are on the tasks and exercises. Let me share screen again. And we already did this one, right? To say, if you were to wake up, what would your response be? Now, most already said this, and when I went through the story on Sunday, since most of you are here, but if you're not, if you knew and you weren't here Sunday, right, and you are like Tommy, if you were to wake up on a strange world, Tommy, with your memory gone, only able to remember one word, one concept, what would it be? I'm very keen to hear from you, Tommy. Yeah, and I'm gonna keep at it, Tommy. I can be a bit stubborn and persistent, when it comes to things like this. So, so just forgive me if I bug you a little bit, yeah. But I do want to hear from you. So now in the second question, also, provide responses you would imagine might be common or possible responses. The most common response by far is love. Love as the one concept. And I do want to focus on this, right? Because it's when you pose this question, that's the first thing that typically jumps into most people's mind as the one concept, that the one thing that you only need, right? Why? Because we've seen memes that say love is all you need, or you've heard this over and over and over. It's in us, right? We've heard this over. Love is all you need. Everything is love. Love is all you need. Let's think about that. Let's really think about that. Is love all you need? Well,
Can I answer?
let's please. Oh, anybody. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. You always
I,
ask me this, and it's a default.
yes, and I know from the conversation the other day, but I came up with another one. Love is not all we need. Um, mentioned the other day that I said intent, but there was another one, appropriateness, not appropriateness, moreness popped into my
Yeah.
head.
Yes,
And,
yes,
and I'm
yes.
not quite sure why, other
I
than
love that. I love that. Yes.
it felt like
Yeah.
that to me would be just the cap to everything,
Yes.
you know, because it covers all of it, appropriateness, love.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Moreness can be a synonym for appropriateness in a particular way. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
share please
So,
on that.
so yeah. I mean, if you say moreness and you wake up with moreness, well, what does moreness mean? Well, moreness means I'm looking beyond myself. I'm extending my awareness. I'm paying attention to what's going on. Well, I'm just being appropriate. Oh, well, okay, duh. See,
Okay,
but also, what is appropriate is my survival.
yes,
Yeah.
okay,
But moreness is to look for my joy, look for connectivity, look for interaction, look for depth, for discernment, right? So, but again, to say my survival is appropriate, now that's little a appropriateness. Capital A appropriateness includes moreness automatically. Because if you're only looking at that little a appropriateness of your survival, you're not going to evolve. Well, you might, but you're going to evolve sort of despite yourself. But when we start deliberately looking at moreness as part of our appropriateness, then we start to evolve consciously, deliberately, intentionally. Yes? Right, sure?
yes, sorry, I was
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. That's okay.
But,
I like those confirmations to, I don't want to assume my yeses aren't,
right,
they aren't, they're not rhetoric. I really like to know, because sometimes, I don't always get that yes. I get like,
oh,
well,
yeah,
and
no,
then it's, yeah. So
no, I
it's important.
understand.
Uh,
I just want to briefly say this,
Please,
going
please,
back
please.
to when I first entered Zoom today, we were talking about how we connect to something later. Moreness is one of those topics,
Yeah,
and so is
yeah,
appropriateness.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I kind
exactly.
of knew and I kind of had an idea, and
Yes,
I've always known what appropriate is,
yes,
but
yes,
it's not really connected so much as it has since this whole
yeah,
situation with my grandson and I had,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
taken off and really come to life. So
yeah, yeah.
ever since that, and ever since I've had to change how I think and feel and believe about certain situations, those two words have been popping up more and more and more every day.
Yeah, yeah. Moreness is a big deal.
Yes.
Moreness is a philosophy. It's not just a concept. It's a philosophy. It's a way of living. That's what I love about the term. That's why I love. So, oh, by the way, when you came on, did I say good morning to you? You.
Sorry, yes, you did.
Right. Well. You see, I'm changing this. Somebody came on yesterday, the magical Lisa. Lisa unleashed, and she said, "Good morning." She just loved it. I was laughing. It was just really, really
That's
enjoying
funny.
her. It's brilliant. And because good mornings, it's like, well, I'm typically on in the mornings, but of course my morning is Venus evening. Yeah. So this is I can say good mornings instead of good morning. Yeah. And I
Yes.
just love this. And it's a reminder of it too. It's huge. It's a huge deal. So now I'm just changing. See, and that's what I love. I love to update. I love to change. And yes, okay. Initially, I'll remind and say, Lisa, thank you for this. But over time, Lisa, it's mine now. I'm taking it. I'm owning it. Good morning. So thank you very much. But I'm not going to always say, oh, Lisa was the one who started this. If it comes up and appropriate, yes. But I'm making it my own. So just so you know, I'm making it my own. I'm looking for a particular background slide that, here it is. Right. So this is the magic of this moreness appropriateness. Yes. So if you
Uh-huh.
look at my background now, let me stop sharing so you can see it nicely. Right. All those conceptions in your dictionary of power, they're all linked like this. Now, these are just seemingly on the surface, but I couldn't find one which had points that are inside this, right? And well, not such a confined sphere, but just dots out there, and they all connect, right? And each dot connects to each other point, or point of light, point of understanding, point of awareness, because these are overview conceptions, because they are large, they are broad, and therefore there's overlap, like there's overlap between moreness and appropriateness, and also impeccability. Yes, they have nuanced differences, but any one of those will lead you to any of the others. You could say intent also. Yes, but the slight little tweak in appropriateness is what makes the difference, right? Because I could have intent as my focus, and my intent is to survive. If I forget about appropriateness, I don't evolve. See, I'm being very like fulfilling my intent to survive, but I'm not fulfilling that additional intent to evolve as well. And this is appropriateness. Now, capital A appropriateness, which says zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, right? So that's why you've got appropriateness as a golden triangle again, since we're talking about golden triangles. You've got appropriateness, and you've got awareness on the one side of the triangle or the one corner, and you've got attunement.
Yes.
Right? So those three A's, it's very powerful, very powerful. Why is that so important? Because yes, okay, I wake up on this planet, right? Just I just want to quickly, Bina, Ramsey says, I would like to remember my name so I can Google the person I was. Very funny, Ramsey. You're assuming that there is Google, and you're assuming on this planet they even use names. Yeah, they may, like, you may end up in a giant, ant world, and you're identified by your smell.
Mhm.
By the way, look up videos of creatures or things that live inside ant colonies. It's too
Look up what?
fantastic. Creatures that live inside an ant colony, right? And they live there quite harmoniously, right? It's too fascinating. We'll
What?
see the video. Oh yeah, we'll see the video of these little creatures. They look nothing like ants. They aren't ants. They're completely alien creatures, but they happily live inside the ant colonies. Why? Because they learned to mimic the smell of ant. So the ant comes, smells them. Oh, you're an ant, and off they go. It's incredible. It's
Wow.
incredible. Yes, it is really, really incredible, right? And it really makes us think. And this is why I made a couple of posts about this. I said, how do you know I am not an alien? I look like a human. How do you know I'm not a human? You just assume, because like the ants, our identifier of human is visual. The ant's identifier of ant was by scent. You have no way of knowing what's going on inside there, right? So, yeah, symbiosis. Yes, yes, yes. It's too fast. Now, some of them are symbiotic. In other words, they actually help the ants with their farming or whatever they're doing. But others are parasitic, Ramsey. So they're not all necessarily symbiotic.
Yeah,
But
that's
this
what I
is a
was just
fantastic
wondering.
thing. So that was such a profound sort of like wow, this is a lesson of assumption. Yes, that we can so easily be fooled based on our assumptions, what we take for granted. That's why I try very, very hard not to assume, and to perspective shift. If you have perspective shifting to multiple perspectives, you start to consider that not everything you see may be what it appears to be. Yes,
That's the key point that I keep forgetting though,
that's the
is
key point.
multiple.
multiple,
Yeah,
multiple,
multiple.
multiple. All caps multiple, so that you shout it.
Mhm.
Perspective shifting to multiple perspectives, like thinking things through
The end.
to the end. Gotta shout
Yes,
it. Gotta shout it. Yeah.
the end.
To the end. Okay. I mean, if I really shout, you guys would probably blow your speakers. I can truly shout really loudly, you know. Yeah. I mean, I could, like, if somebody's like a quarter mile away and I go, hey, you know, like that, they'll hear me and look, you know, or maybe even further. Yeah. I'm just thinking like from here where, yeah. So maybe even further than that. It's quite something, but it's just, it's like you focus the energy. Anyway, I got a lot of, you know, big voice, I guess, talking too much. So this is cool. All right. So back to this point about the assumption, right? So we want to really be in a place where we can function, where there's no Google, there's no names, right? And we want to be prepared for everything. So this is, I have to determine appropriateness. So my intent is to be able to function, not just survive, but function, interact, thrive. Yes. So in order to thrive, I have to understand, I have to connect, I have to be aware, I have to, like you said, make the effort to figure out how the connections, how things work. So I'm applying ADU, awareness, discernment, understanding. Right? Different ways of
Yeah,
saying it. But you see, Ramsey, why I like these overview abstract concepts, because they apply in so many different situations, right? Whereas if we only remember the specifics, it's very limiting, and I have to remember. Whereas once I know inside me, I put it in my body, right? If I wake up, I by now, appropriateness, awareness, discernment, understanding, leading to application. These are intrinsic in me. They're in my physical body. I feel them. So they're innate. And this is what the dictionary of power is. It is those overview conceptions which we can afford to make innate. I can't afford to make innate, to make innate, for instance, how to drive a Ford. Right? So you drive cars, right, Ramsey? But if you only learned how to drive a Ford and you got into a Chevrolet, then what? Now, all right, you're a smart fellow and you think, so you'll figure it out, right? But this doesn't always happen. It's a simple example. And the reason I use this example is because this literally happened when I was a teenager. One of, we're in the neighborhood on the street playing, and one of the kids got hurt and had to go to the doctor. Well, it wasn't wildly terrible. It was like they're going to die soon, but anyway, they had to go get stitches or whatever. And so the mother that happened to be there, because most of the mothers, they weren't always at home, but mostly. So the mother on hand said, "Oh, all right, let's go." And she walks to where the cars are, and oh, my car's in the shop. This is my husband's car. Oh, well, I can't take him because, well, I drive a Ford and this is a Chevrolet. I truly wanted to smack this woman. I'm sorry. I know that's really horrible, but I mean, not a smack from a violent point of view, but a smack from a wake up point of view.
yeah,
Even at that age, I'm like, seriously, woman, really? It blew my mind that this was even possible in an adult. It still freaks me out, right? Now, it's an extreme example because it's so if you think abstractly, but she wasn't able to think abstractly. There's a gear lever, there's a brake pedal, clutch, whatever. It's all the same. It's like, okay, the gear lever is in a different position. So what? Just adapt. But she couldn't do it, and she couldn't do it with something relatively serious on hand. Yeah. I mean, if her life depended on it, she might not have been able to do it. This is just frightening, right? I mean, it could have been that it was serious and the boy's life depended on it, but it didn't in that case, luckily. So this is very profound, right? Now, in this case, Ford and Chevrolet are fairly close together, but what if they're further apart? What if it's like, well, I drive vehicles and the only vehicle on hand is, a big earth moving machine, right?
right.
Still, you know if you learn to abstract, yes, okay, there's nothing when you get on those machines. They're all very different. They don't even have a key. They got a starter button, right? But nonetheless, you know you understand the basic conceptions that you've got to take the thing. It can't go if it's not in gears. You got to put it in gear somehow, right? Once you've got it started, because if you started in gear, it would just start going the moment you started it. Now, that I guess that might happen like on a train or something, but typically not. So when you start to think abstractly, you can figure things out. Yes. So this is a profound skill, and I'm not just saying this theoretically. I've used this in my life many times. Right, I drove a motorbike at from age 16, and where I was at the time, you get your car license at 18. So it came up, and I watched a friend of my mother's was there, and I watched them drive the car because it's coming up close to my birthday, and my birthday was just before the prom, or we called it the school dance, but the same equivalent. And so it was like a couple of weeks before the prom, and I wanted to have my license, um, uh, so I could drive the car to the prom. Anyway, so I watched this, right, and so I said, "Look, can I drive?" Got my license. So luckily, the person who was he was quite sort of a open spirited fellow. He said, "Sure." So I got in the car and I'd studied this, I'd figured it out, and I abstracted what I knew from driving on the motorbike, which is, of course, you're changing gears, with your foot on the little up down pedal, not with your hand, and your accelerator is not with your foot, it's on your hands. It's kind of reversed, right? But because I knew the abstract concepts, I got in the car and I drove it. That was it. And this is a clutch car, right? Manual, not automatic. Automatic is a piece of cake. Right? That's it. I got in and drove. Why? Because I could abstract one to the other. And I made the effort to do so, right? Because I wanted to do that. I wanted to test to see if I could do it. It was a great opportunity. So there we go. And you just you learn the controls, you fiddle about, you make that allowance for adjustment, not too much, not too little, and there we go. But so it's very simple. It was very easy. So my point is that we can do this, right? It sounds like a big deal to a lot of people who struggle to drive. But if you understand what's going on and you're able to abstract and apply those abstractions, it makes life much, much easier, right? And so I just thought of it in the abstract, and that was very simple, right? Understanding, like the bicycle, understand that it balances itself and you don't need to balance, you just need to go speed. Understanding. So having those abstract conceptions is my key point here, which is the key point
Yeah.
of this chapter, right? It's about having this overview, one concept, appropriateness. Now, whether you associate appropriateness with impeccability or moreness or intent or something else, you're still going to come back to appropriateness, because once you understand it, appropriateness, you need to know what is your squeeze. You need to
Yeah.
that's key. If you don't know what's squeezing you, or what you are being squeezed by, or what you are choosing to squeeze yourself with, you're going to be lost. Yeah. You got to
Yes.
know where the squeezes are externally. In the longer term, I'm being squeezed by death. Am I not? Right
Yes.
now, is death not squeezing all of us?
I think so.
I think so. At least I
But
hope so.
but
If you
I was gonna
Yeah,
say, I just never think about it.
precisely. But when we do think about it, we say, "Oh, well, we do think about it, sir," because we not necessarily specifically in the context of death, but in the context of mourners, right? So if you go to death and you knock on death's door, did that make
Okay.
a knocking sound?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Right. I was trying to knock on my mic, but I don't know if it didn't sound like to me, right? Did it make a sound when I knocked? Oh no.
No,
Oh,
it
all
was
right.
good.
Well, there you go. All right. So we're gonna knock on their door and say, Death, what the hell do I have to do? What am I doing? Like, what's going on? Can you help me out? Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, Death says, well, thank heavens you didn't come and ask me about Bay or some other silly nonsense, or how to deal with your boss, or how to deal with silly uncle or some nonsense like that. Because then I would have sworn at you and chased you out and probably given you a kick or a smack or something, right? Death's very rude, by the way, at least in my conception of death, because Death's got no time for nonsense, which is why Death is such a magical advisor. They say, okay, you are really earnest here. You really don't know what to do. You really want to know. You've thought about this. You figured out, okay. And Death says, pay attention to mourners. You come to us, Death, what do I do about you? Death says, pay attention to mourners. Okay, thanks. Off you go. No chatting with Death, no saying, can you explain more? No. He's giving you everything you need to know. He's giving you one concept. That's all you need to know. Death is very, very, very time sensitive, because Death's very busy, right? He's got a lot of stuff to do. He's super busy. So the fact that you even get a second from Death is something to be truly appreciative from, right? So when he says, more, and now you go and you think about it. Wow, to deal with my death, all I need to do is pay attention to mourners. Isn't that what you've been doing, sir?
Yes.
Life is easy, problem solved. So we take moreness as far as we can go. And if we do this, we are moreness appropriateness. Oh, what does appropriate means? Appropriateness means being prepared, adding to my evolution, adding to my awareness, my ability to discern, my ability to understand, my ability to figure out, my ability to apply, my ability to be strategic, things like patience and discipline and integrity. All of these are qualities that are going to help me, whatever world I wake up on. Right, the world with the sausage, potato, mushroom, flowers, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. The world where there's no Google, no names, doesn't matter. See, it doesn't matter because I've got the patience, I've got the awareness, I've got the understanding to be able to deal with whatever comes my way. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
How profound is that? So I'm now taking care of death. Yeah, and mourners. Now that says, yeah, you know what? Did I ever say there was going to be an afterlife? I never said that. When you die, there's nothing there.
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
don't
want to
know.
tell you that. I didn't want to tell you that because I don't want to depress you, but all right. So let's assume we die and there's nothing. Then
Right.
somebody might say, well, now you've spent all that time preparing and it's wasted. No, of course it's not wasted, because does that mourness give you joy and value and pleasure and usefulness now? Does it, sure?
Does it give me now? You mean?
Yeah, now in your life now, all the
Yeah.
attention that we've been paying to mourners, are you benefiting from it right now, this very
Yeah.
second?
Of course
Yeah,
I
you
am.
do exactly. So this is a profound capital S strategy. By adopting a mourners philosophy, a mourners psychology, a mourners spirituality, just mourners as our being, we are taking care of death, preparing as best we can, and we are making the most of now. This
Huh.
is why mourners is so profound, right? So it's an ultimate strategy. It doesn't matter what happens after death. We don't know, but we are preparing either way, and we get benefit either way. This is maximum strategy to get benefit whether things turn out in whatever way they can, right? We're covering all of our asses, our options. Yes? Yeah, yeah. Very profound point. Very profound point. So to be squeezed by mourners, this is the ultimate. How appropriate is that? How
I think it's
appropriate is
pretty
that?
cool.
It's magically cool. It
That is
is
actually cool.
magically cool. Yes,
Um,
yes.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw it or not. Bina had to drop off because she had
Yeah.
a poor internet connection. So
All
she
right.
just said
Right.
bye for now.
All
Um,
right. All right,
and I'm
Bina.
gonna
It's
have
all
to
good.
scoot
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah. Well, we're all gonna scoot.
okay.
It's nicely on time here now,
Yeah, okay.
and so this is perfect timing on that point of mourners. So I will bid you a good mourners
Ah,
and see you next time.
good morning. All right.
I love this. I love that we can use it at the beginning and the end.
Yes, good morning.
It's
Yeah.
it's
You
good
know what?
mourners.
That's even better than the painting guy, Bob Ross. So yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, this is too wonderful. Yeah, good mornings to you. You know, it's not only a greeting, it's also like kind of a benediction almost, right? Or there's another word for it when you send somebody on their way with like good wishes. There's a
Yeah.
particular word for it, and it's not benediction, but it's close to that. So it works in both ends of the spectrum, because to bid you a good mornings on your way to take this with
Yeah.
you. I just love it. I love it. So we're going to change the world with just this one expression, right?
I think
I
we
mean,
ought to.
mourners was the philosophy, the concept that I was sharing all this time, and then Lisa came and just utilized it in
Yeah.
that one way, which is a precise
And
example
now,
of it. And now we're all going to adopt it. And now I'm not just using it to say hello, but also goodbye. So
right.
go ahead, Joe.
See, and we're gonna squeeze the Dickens out of the mornings too. So there we
Exactly.
go.
And if there is one thing that cannot be squeezed dry, it is
Morning.
mourners. Cannot do it. Try
No,
all you like. Cannot
there
do
we
it.
go.
Cannot do it. Cannot do it. So
Lesson of the
good
day.
mornings, everybody. Bye bye, Ramsey.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
mate. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye,
Thanks.
everybody
Talk to you
else.
soon.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Good mornings indeed.